Welcome back, everybody. This is Calvenn Starre, and you're joining us here in our webinar series called Advancement in Leadership. It's a training series on the book, The Disciplined Leader by John Manning. As you can see here, you can buy it down in the link below here of the description of this YouTube video. And it's 52 concise, powerful lessons about leadership, which I think is much needed in our industry. It's much needed in our world. And it's, obviously can be misconstrued at times. And I think this chapter is a really great one because a lot of times leaders, they do questionable things to gain the support of people, and it's not right. And so chapter 51 is about keeping ethics strong. And so I'm excited to get into that one, of course. And obviously what we do here every single week to kind of help us with the information that we're learning is we go into integration. Integration is important because you don't want to just hear the information once. You don't want to just hear it and just kind of have it go in one ear and out the other. You want to integrate it, which means taking the information from different angles, different perspectives, different thoughts, and kind of recalling the information that you've been learning. And I just read an article that actually said that the best way to learn information is to teach it. So take this webinar and go teach it to your team. That's going to help you really integrate the information into your brain. So one of the things that I do is I go back 3 weeks, just three, so that we don't sit here for an hour going back over 50 weeks of information. And I cover the last 3 chapters of the book to kind of give us that integration portion of this webinar series. So Chapter 48, listen to your customers. This chapter was really important for me, especially running companies and whatnot. The challenge is that a lot of companies, when they get settled or they start to grow, they start to just make decisions. They don't think about the people that got them to where they are. And so you've got to really stay close and listen to your customers, listen to the good and listen to the bad. A company that's not willing to receive feedback or take on feedback or negativity is a company that's going to eventually lose because they're not hearing what their customers are saying. And so when you're having this situation, you want to make sure that you pay attention and you find out, okay, is this just one angry customer, or is this a common thread that's going throughout our organization? Because if it is, you need to look at it and make sure that you make the corrective action to change things. So listen to your customers. It's really important, especially if you're in network marketing. If you're not sustaining a good growth or keeping customers in your organization, then you need to ask them why. Why are they deciding to go somewhere else? Why are they leaving? Why are they just stopping using the product? Because if you don't, you're never going to find out what you need to know in order to keep people in that relationship with you. Then we go to chapter 49, which is keep customers in the crosshairs of decision making. And powerful lesson here is same thing about listening to your customers. But a lot of times when we get into that mentality of what we're doing, we forget to actually think about our customers when we're doing it. Like when you're placing an ad. One of the things that I've learned is that my opinion's not the substitute for market research. And so you may like something, you may like a design, you may like a color, you may like a look, but believe me, I've been through this a lot, especially being married. A lot of times I'll get dressed and I'll be like, I think I look good, and it's typically a sign that I have done something wrong. But, so it's like, just because you feel good about something or you think something is great doesn't mean that it's actually going to be great for your business or great for your customers. And one of the great things about this chapter was it said that one of the clients of MAP, which is the company that John runs, said that they actually put a chair in their boardroom specifically for customers to say, listen, they're a part of this meeting as well, and we need to think about them. So that's a really great way of doing it, and putting some of your customers up on the wall or doing something to kind of keep them in front of you and remind you that, hey, you know what, customers are important. We have to keep them in the crosshairs of decision making. Now, chapter 50 was last week. Know your competition. And for me, your competition most of the time is yourself. How many times have we taken ourselves out of the running or taken ourselves out of the game? And so you really have to know yourself, which is why I'm such a huge proponent of personal development and reading the books and going to the webinars and seeing the seminars and all these different things. And I reverse those. It's seeing the webinars and going to the seminars. And so that's something that you really need to focus on, is knowing your competition, because one day your client's going to come to you or your customer's going to come to you and say, well, I've started using this product, or hey, what do you think of this? And if you go, hey, I don't really understand it, I don't know it, that's okay occasionally, but if they keep coming to you with things or you don't have the answers, it's always much better to know your competition in and out so that you can really understand exactly how they're doing so well or being a success. And that's something that most entrepreneurs will study, is they'll study the competition. It's just one of the things that you do when you start something. You start looking at everybody and what are they doing, what's working well, what's getting a lot of attraction, what's all these different things that you're looking at. I mean, when you go into your Apple phone, iPhone, and you look into the apps, they show trending. Like, watch trending information. Watch people that are really excited about what they're using or buying and stuff, and look for those trends, because that will show you what the competition is doing that's creating success for them. And you can obviously take from that and utilize it for your own company and product. So let's get into keeping ethics strong, which is or keep ethics strong, which is a powerful chapter. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have a right to do and what is right to do. Potter Stewart. And again, this is something where I think a lot of times people let money and power go to their heads. And for me, I've always really questioned that, because I've been a part of a couple of different things where it's like, you know what? I've always been blessed to be a part of something that when I had the opportunity to make that decision, I did the right thing. And I did it based upon my own personal ethics and my own integrity, because I've always held those in the highest standard in this industry, because, rumors and word travel fast. So you want to make sure that, no matter what, you always do the right thing. I remember back in my days at Monavie when I was an affiliate, and people would, I was the number one enroller in the company. And it was funny because when people would call up and say, hey, this so-and-so signed up with you by accident, I'd be like, hey, listen, you know what? If they need to go somewhere else, let them go, because that was just my integrity, knowing that I wasn't going to make this person stay because they made a mistake. That would have been against my own ethics. And so you've got to be able to do that and do the right thing and not do something because you have the right to do it. Number 2, quote, I make up my mind in light of available facts with my own experience and a sense of personal ethics. Ian Anderson. And this one was a great one for me too, because a lot of times we don't know what's real. We don't know when we hear a rumor about somebody, or we don't know if we hear a rumor about a company or a product, whether or not it's true. And so one of the things that I work with people on is realizing that, everybody's got their perspective, everybody's got their thing. And unfortunately, there are people out there that will lie in order to make themselves look good or to make their companies look good. So they'll lie about their products, they'll lie about the people, they'll lie about what people have done. And that's just one of their ways of manipulating people. So what I tell people to do is, hey, listen, if something is really off for you, if you don't like what you're hearing, then go to the source. Find out and create your own experience with that person or that product or that company and figure it out for yourself. Because in this day and age with Amazon and all the different companies out there, and you see those ratings, I fall prey to it too. A lot of times I'll look at those ratings, or how many times have we looked at it for a movie and gone, Rotten Tomatoes is only 17%. But I've come to understand that 17% is not necessarily my perspective. And so sometimes I'll watch the movie or I'll buy the product. And yeah, if it's bad, then I'll jump right in and make sure that I let everybody know that, hey, in my perspective, I didn't like it either. But I always look for my own experience. And when somebody comes to me about a person that says, hey, you don't want to do business with that person, or hey, this person cheated me, I will always, if it's that important to me, I will go to that person and say, hey, what was your experience with this? What happened? And based upon what your gut and intuition will tell you, that's most likely going to give you the right answer. And of course, I've been taken advantage of many a times. And I remember the first time that I was taken advantage of back in, I want to say it was 1996 or 97, I had somebody that I thought I could trust. I invested some money with them and they disappeared. It happens. And so I think those type of life lessons for me have really kept my ethics strong, so that when I'm in that possession of that responsibility of money or product or time or energy of other people, I always keep true to who I am and what I believe, and that's always doing the right thing. Now, jumping into chapter 51, keep ethics strong. It's leadership's responsibility to make sure that good ethics are a part of the foundation of the company or the organization, because we're talking about your team here. It's your responsibility. And I didn't get this until I started I was in Monavie again. I talk about it because it's gone. But one of the top leaders there, Brick Hart, was a friend of mine and also sideline. But I attended one of his meetings, and I finally got and understood what it meant to have really strong ethics and teach them. He would have meetings with his entire team, and he had the largest organization in the company. And he would teach people about ethics, about what you should and should not do. And he even got to the point where it's like, hey, what? Don't find a relationship in this business, and don't find it if they're married. It's kind of like, hey, don't do stupid stuff. And, it still amazes me to this day where I hear stories about people being with people in their downline, or that they're married, it's all over the place. And I laugh because I just think to myself, you would think that these are just the basics of right and wrong. But people get lost in power and desires and all these different things. And so we've got to really keep strong to what our ethics are and keep focused on what our intentions are and create that. And so it's your responsibility to make good ethics a part of the foundation of your organization. And so in order to do that, you must start with a clearly defined vision, mission, and values that provide the direction to your team. Like, you can be a part of a company, right? You can be a part of a company, and you can be your own independent affiliate like you are, like you may be. You may be a corporate person, I don't know. But you know what? You can define your own vision and mission. You can say, hey, we're a part of this company, but my purpose in this is to live with integrity and really create something for people that they can really sink their teeth in even deeper than what they would just on the company and the product, and really create a product out of the product. So it's like there's something there for you. So you can clearly define that and really stay clear to it. And of course, by doing that will align you with what you need to do and what your purpose is. So the best bet is to use your values as the moral compass for your team and organization. So you're going to have to use your own values. You can't be somebody who values one thing and then tries to teach people to value another thing or the opposite of that. You've got to stay true to who you are about what you want. And then he also states here that they should guide ethical decision making, and yet it falls. Your values should guide ethical decision making, but it falls on leadership to make this happen. So just because you define it doesn't mean that it's just going to magically happen. You've got to actually teach it, coach it. You've got to work with people when you find out and they're having struggles in relationships or in business or whatnot, and work with them, because you know what? It's kind of silly to actually think that we're all going to be perfect. Everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to falter, stumble, trip. And your job as a leader is to not shame people, because that's never going to serve, but it's to let people know, hey, it's okay, and let's get back up and let's brush that off, and let's look at what we can do to make things better. Let's look at what we can do to resolve this in a peaceful way, not, confront people and challenge people and make them wrong, and especially never, I was talking with my wife about it, where one of these kids in class got shamed by the teacher, and was just like, wow, you don't do that in front of the class. You do it privately. You do it just one-on-one, or do it with their parents, and just kind of have an open discussion about it. But you don't make the child wrong. They're the epitome of people that are tripping and falling all the time, because they're learning, and this is their process. This is their brain development. This is all the things that they need to go through. And the last thing we want to do with anybody is to shame them. And so as a leader, you don't want to shame people, because it's going to trigger stuff from their childhood where they were probably shamed by their parents or their teachers or their friends or whoever it was. So again, this falls on you to make sure that the ethical process and the values of your organization are being taught. Now, leaders must lead by example and behave ethically in how you manage and create focus around your vital few. So you've got to lead by example. And I've always said, as the leader goes, so does the rest of the group. The moment that you're up there preaching, I remember seeing this in a lot of different companies, not just one, but you've got a leader up there preaching health and talking health and fitness and this and that and success, and then they run off the stage and they're outside smoking. And you kind of look at that and you go, okay, wait, they're preaching health and wellness, but yet they're outside smoking. And here's the truth. I've done that before. Back in the day when I used to smoke, I used to run off the stage and go off and have a cigarette. I get it, man. We all make those types of mistakes. And then you go through that process in your life where you go, you know what? I need to clean this up. And it's your opportunity to take that next step forward and say, I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a change. And I think that those things that cause us to challenge our own beliefs and our own ethics are what make us the strongest. And so we have to lead by example. You've got to make sure that when you're in an event, you don't get hammered and sloppy and drunk and look like an idiot when you're in front of people that are looking up to you. I mean, that's just a natural thing. And it's fascinating to me how many people, when they get on Facebook or they go to something, it's the first thing they post is them getting drinks or getting drunk and having fun and a blast. And it's like, wow, you know what? I get that a lot of us, think that's the way to release, but the true way, for me at least, is to be able to just be present with people and really enjoy the moment rather than completely drown in it. All right. Here are the 3 tactics to help build the engagement and align your team and your ethical standards. Number 1, develop a code of ethics. If you don't have one, if your company doesn't have one, then you have to define it. And then once you define it, you must communicate that code of ethics. So these are just some ideas for you to help you build this engagement and align your ethics with your team, okay? Number 2, develop goals that align to your ethics. I thought this was a great one. So for example, do not just measure sales or enrollments, but also measure the satisfaction of your customers or longevity. If a customer just comes in and out because you sold them one time, so what? But when you start to really measure yourself against, maybe the success of the product or how happy the customer is, that's when you truly start to teach people about ethics and customer service and doing the right thing. Getting somebody involved in a business and just slamming them through just to get your sales or your quota is not the way to do it. But if you can say, hey, here's my team. I've got over 30 or 40, 50 people that are completely happy and satisfied, and look how much weight they've lost. That's going to give you more credibility, and it's going to show people that you have a certain ethics in how you run your business. Number 3, talk ethics with your people. This will show your team that you care about maintaining good ethics from the top down. So if you're willing to talk ethics with people and say, hey, listen, you know what? This is the way that we're going to carry ourselves when we go to this next event. This is the way we're going to carry ourselves when we have meetings at our houses. This is the way that we're going to carry ourselves when we're out working with other people. I think one of the classiest things that you can teach people is that, when somebody, you approach somebody and maybe they're not involved, but yet they've heard about it, is to really find out, okay, well, who'd you hear about it from? And what are you thinking? Are you thinking you're going to go with that person? And if they said, I think I am, go, hey, great. You know what? Go with that person. And if you have any questions later on, or if it doesn't work out, then you can contact me, rather than be that person that goes, oh, well, you don't want to go with them because, all this stuff, and you make up some stuff, and you're starting to feel slimy because of your ethics. You're taking advantage of people. So really talk with people and share your story and share the things that you hear about in the industry or other people, and really let people know it's okay. Let's learn from people's mistakes, and let's take that through the process of teaching ethics to our people. Now, let's get into take action now. Number 1, have a meeting with your top leaders about a code of ethics and how you treat each other. That's important because you might want to make sure that you treat each other correctly, that you're always, praising the other people, other leaders on your team, and even outside of your team, other leaders in the company, and also just teach them how to treat their customers. Because a lot of people, they don't get it. Maybe they've come from a background where they were the salesperson, but they never really had to take care of your customers. Or they think that just because your company has customer service, you don't need to worry about it. No, there's a code of ethics here that when somebody gets into business with you, you take care of them no matter what. Because, even though that you may have customer service or they have another place that they can go to get their help, always make yourself available, because you never know if that customer is going to turn into your next affiliate, your next big leader, because of the way that you treated them. Now, number 2, encourage people to come forward with ethical issues and have them bring a couple of solutions as well. If you remember from the past about some of the chapters, it's always about having a couple of solutions, not creating this environment where people can come to you and complain, because you will be overwhelmed with it. So when people come forward with ethical issues, share with them, hey, what do you think you could do with this? And I tell the story about when I was working with T. Harv Eker, and I was actually volunteering at an event. And I saw a couple of the speakers, and there was a main speaker and there was a couple of what they call trainee speakers, and they were in the back. And while the speaker was up there talking, they were back there joking, doing stuff, playing around, watching videos, doing stuff like that. And it really started to irk me because I thought, you know what? Because I had always been taught when somebody's up on stage, you give them your full attention. You're not in your phone, you're not whispering, you're not talking, you're not in the back doing something different. You're giving somebody your full attention. And so I went to the main guy because I was becoming friends with everybody. And I said, you know what, I really was disappointed. You got your guys back there, laughing and giggling and doing stuff and all this kind of stuff. And he goes, who? And I told him who. And I thought, he's going to take care of it. And he goes, bring him over here. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, bring the guy over here. I want to talk to him. And he said, you know what? I brought the guy over. And it was fascinating because the main speaker looked at me and said, tell him what you told me. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? But it caused me to have this conversation with this person. And what happened is I was able to shift my perspective because I realized that he was doing something specific that the main speaker had asked him to do, but it was all perspective. And so it allowed me to be able to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, confront somebody on something, but yet it was a lesson in ethics about just doing what's right. He could have easily just said, I'll take care of it and never done anything about it. And I would have had this energy about it, but instead he encouraged me to actually come forward, work it out with this person, and I ended up being friends with that person for a very, very long time afterwards. So encourage people to come forward. Number 3, investigate. When you have people, things that go on, investigate the ethical standards and practices within the industry and apply the information to your own team. If this is something brand new to you, don't just wing it. Go and research and study and get the information down so that you really can participate at a higher level. Leadership is always about doing things at a higher level. It's not about just like doing something because you're good at it. It's about preparing for it, thinking about it, really going, okay, if this is going to happen here in the near future or this is going to happen, what can I do? If somebody brings an ethical issue to you, you go, okay, how am I going to handle this? What am I going to do? You don't just storm off and start screaming at the person for it. You go, okay, what can I do? What lesson could I share here? What knowledge could I impart? What could I do to make this a positive or a win-win for both sides? So there's always a reason why other teams and companies are successful and continue to grow. So again, study those companies, study those people, study those leaders and how they handle things. Get on Twitter. I've seen a lot of great people lately get on Twitter and do Q&As, and people can ask questions. So maybe you admire somebody, ask them the question, how would you handle an ethical issue within your organization? And they'll probably most likely respond to you, or Google it like we all do these days. There's so many things that you can do to increase and enhance your performance and your leadership. And so these are 3 great actions for you to be able to do that now. As always, pay it forward by leaving a comment below on what you're most grateful for in your life today, and what you learned from this webinar. Okay, so it's about sharing the information. It's about going out there and teaching it. Why? So that you can integrate it. And then you can teach your people to integrate it. And then what happens is you create this domino effect. It's that whole fishing story. You can give a fish and they'll eat for a day, but you can teach them to fish and they can fish for a lifetime. Leadership is a lifetime achievement award, okay? It's not today, it's not tomorrow, it's forever. And so with that, I'll say thank you. I'm grateful for your leadership. Showing up is the first step, and you're showing up by being here, and I appreciate you. Everybody have a great week. I will see you next Wednesday. God bless.